Mark this video. You have asked, and I'm finally gonna do it. I'm gonna break out as much information as I can for you on YouTube on how to successfully transact lease options. If you're looking for how to do real estate with no money and no credit, and you wanna do a deal in the next 90 days, regardless of your age or financial situation, friends, that's what you're gonna find. Now, I need to ask a favor of you, because I can't fit it all into 10 minutes. But what I can do is break it out in the next 4 videos, and I'm bringing my business partner, Stephen Miller, on board, and the two of us are gonna tag team and we're gonna rock out your lease option world in these next 4 videos to show you everything from A to Z on how you actually successfully do real estate deals. So in the next 90 days, you can take a check to the bank. All right, if I get one more comment where you guys are like, what is a lease option? I'm like, that's it. We're gonna create a 4-part video series and we're just gonna give it all to you and we're gonna lay it down.
This is going down.
Because if anyone else has one more question that I'm like, Kris, you keep leaving this out. What do you mean by this? I'm like, all right, we're gonna create the definitive right now, and it's gonna start in this first video talking about what is a lease option, what are the numbers, and it almost makes me feel like rapping even though I'm white and I can't. Kick up a beat. Lease options. So cool. Get in. Learn the stuff. It's amazing. I can't.
We will never do that again.
All right.
That is never happening
Ratings
again.
just
Okay.
All right.
Let's get to it. So
redeeming qualities, however, is that we can teach you this stuff.
Kris, so we're talking about lease options, and before we get into the how-tos and the marketing of it and the contracts and whatever, can we get into why they would want to do a lease option? Like, how does a lease option differ from maybe your typical rental?
Okay, so let's get it. Most basic concept in real estate is buy a house, rent it, and make money. And you know, that's a real deal. You can buy a house, you can rent it, you can get a cash flow. If you hold that house long enough, you'll eventually sell it for an amazing profit. You're gonna get cash flow because the market is always what?
Going up.
It might be going down and up, but over time it is always inflating and it's always going up. So in time, you're gonna get a great return. We're simply gonna share with you an alternative today, like Stephen is saying, of how you make a lot more money. And today we're talking about the 40K swing. In other words, lease options at a minimum, on average, give you $40,000 more than a straight rental. So a lease option is best said in one of 2 ways. You might be familiar with rent to own.
Yep.
Well, that totally makes sense.
Rent to own.
I rent it until I can own it. And on a more sophisticated level, it's called a lease, which is a rental agreement with an option to purchase, which means, oh, you mean I can get in this house, I can rent it, and then I could have the option in time to buy it? That's what a lease option is. Now, these 4 videos are designed to go through everything from what is it and why are we doing it, to how do you buy one and market it, to how do you sell it and what are the contracts, all the way to how you manage it and even purchase homes on lease option with as little as no money, no credit. So we're actually saying that regardless of your age and financial situation, stature, credit position, anyone can go out and do real estate right now. I challenge you, in the next 90 days with what we teach, you can take this information and go out. So commit to watching all 4 videos, and I want you to pull up pen and paper. I know you don't normally do this, but imagine that class is in session, and we're going to give you everything you need A to Z right now on understanding what a lease option is. And our invitation is go out, make some money, and comment below on, oh my gosh, I did it. It was so amazing. We want to see that from you.
So Kris, what I want you to do right now, because Kris, I'll tell you right now, those of you that don't know, and he may not talk about this often, Kris is a numbers nerd.
Wait,
right?
I'm a rapper.
Kris, no, he's not a rapper. He's a numbers nerd. He retires to his nerdery to crunch numbers. Like literally, you can see this guy going crazy. It's like, I'll stop there. Anyway, the point is, what he can do right now, and what I want you to do, Kris, is I want you to take a home. And let's just call it, let's take round numbers, a $200,000 home, okay?
Home.
So let's say you're gonna take a $200,000 home. What I want you to do right now with the numbers is help them see how investing in this $200,000 home, and let's say you got it with a 15% equity position. Can we do that real quick?
So I got the home for $170,000.
Okay. It's worth $200,000.
It's worth $200,000, and it's like, how do I make maximum money on this?
So what I want you to do is I want you to separate it. I want you to go through a rental property, if you were just to rent it, and then I want you to talk about lease optioning with our system, what that would look like.
All right, how's that?
And this is what we're teaching you right now. This is exactly what we're going to teach you.
So this video is what is a lease option and why the heck would I ever do it? And then in video number 2, we're going to talk about how you actually execute a lease option. So let's do this example. I've got a home, and let's just say that you had a house with $30,000 of equity. This represents a 15% position. And so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my marketplace and I'm going to rent this home. And when I go to rent it, I'm going to assume that I have a payment on this house where I'm going to rent it for $1,200, but my mortgage with all of my payments and everything is $1,000.
Now, we're just using some round numbers right now. These may not be exactly accurate, although I will tell you he's got a pretty good mind for this. So.
And this is showing a $200 cash flow, right? If every month I collect $1,200 and every month I pay $1,000, then every month I'm making $200. That's what gets people into real estate in the first place, because that's your residual income. So I'm going to have some profit here. And in this scenario, let's assume for a moment that we're going to hold this home for 4 years.
Perfect.
Okay, so what could happen in a 4-year scenario? Well, first of all, if I am collecting that money, I'm making $200 a month, and most people rent houses for a year at a time. Let's assume that I get a couple of repeats, but I've got some vacancies. Let's assume that I have 1 month out of the year vacant, and let's assume that over the next 4 years. So what that means is I want to totally calculate here. If you can pull out the calculator,
Yeah.
Stephen. Let's actually break this down.
Awesome.
And here's what I want you to do. The first thing that we need to understand is that there's going to be a cost of holding this home.
Okay.
And so what we're going to do is we're going to have a $200 cash flow for 11 months.
Okay, so 200
Times 11.
times 11. That's 2,200.
And we're going to hold this for 4 years.
Okay.
And that takes a vacancy into account, so multiply that by 4.
Okay, so that
2,200 times 4.
That's 8,800.
Okay, so on my cash flow right here, we've got 8.8. Whoops.
Not exactly. Yes.
8,800.
Yes.
All right. I ran out of room. We use K. So that's $8,800. However, I have some extra expenses that come up along the way.
Okay.
On this property, remember I have to cover the $1,000 for 1 month out of each of the 4 years. So that's $4,000 that I have. And let's also assume that on my expenses, I've got $4,000 in vacancy. Let's also assume that in repairs, let's say I'm dealing with $1,000 a year.
Yep.
So that's $4,000 in repairs. And let's also say that I don't want to be a landlord, so I have a property manager that costs me $100 a month. So $100 times 12 months is $1,200.
Yep.
Times 4 is?
1,200 times 4 is 4,800.
$4,800 in property management. So if I take 4,000, 4,000, and 4,800, that's total expenses of.
Yeah, that's 12,800.
Okay, so look out the gate here. I've got 8,800 that looks like it's working out well for me, but it's canceled out with the $12,800, which means I am down $4,000. I held the home for 4 years, and I've already shelled out $4,000 more out of my pocket for holding this. However, let's just say in the next 4 years that the market actually goes up, and my home is valued at $210,000.
Okay.
Okay, what's 6% of $210,000? Because now I need to do my realtor fees.
210,000 times point. So that's 12,600.
And let's throw a couple thousand for some seller's concessions. Let's round it up. I've got $15,000 in those fees for realtor and closing costs. And now it's time to figure out how much money did I really make on this? Well, we owe $170, and the difference between $170 and $210 is $40,000. Mm-hmm. So if I have $40,000, now we need to subtract from that the net difference here of $4,000.
So minus 4,000. Yep.
Subtract the 15,000 realtor fees.
Minus 15.
And then don't forget that you've got to get it in 4 years up to market speed. Let's also assume that you've got 10,000 in repairs.
Okay, so minus 10,000. That equals $11,000.
Okay. I by the way, I added a 1 here, so
Good.
it's 14,000 repairs. So how much is it?
That's $11,000.
Okay, so in this scenario, I wish I had a different color here. We're going to say that I made $11,000 gain. Now, just check that out for just a moment. I bought a house, I owned it for 4 years, I did get tax advantage, and at the end of the day, I made $11,000. And depending on what my down payment is, I could calculate what my ROI is. Right now, we're just gonna look at this big gross number, and now we're gonna do the fun magic of
Switch.
what happens with a lease option. When I'm actually doing, Stephen, if I stand on this side, I can't write like this.
You can't write on the
Switch.
Switch.
All right, so let's do the same thing. Now instead of renting it for $1,200, it's a lease option. So what I'm actually doing is I'm actually going to be renting it for $1,400 a month. So I'm gonna say rent is $1,400.
Now, there's a reason why we're able to rent it for a little bit more. We're actually helping people build equity in the property.
There's people out there that want to get a house and the banks have shut them down saying your credit's not good enough, your job's not good enough. There's so many people. There's a massive margin for people that want a house, can pay for a house, and the banks say no.
Yep. So we're able to charge more.
And on top of that, I'm also collecting a non-refundable down payment. And the down payment on this, we're just gonna say it's one of our more typical homes. Let's call it $5,000.
Yep.
So I'm making my extra 5 Gs right up front on that, but I've held it for 4 years, and sometimes the family that's in the home doesn't buy it because they needed the flexibility to get out. Half the time that happens, half the time it doesn't. So we're gonna say here with our average numbers that it happens twice. So over that 4 years, we're actually going to collect that $5,000 twice. It's $10,000 that we've gained up front on that. We now have calculated our higher rent. We still have the same mortgage of $1,000, but our cash flow is way more juicy. Now, let's start looking at the expenses on this. First of all, we have the same thing on 2 vacancies. So we're going to say that that our vacancies come to...
So instead of 4 vacancies, which is what this was, one per year, right?
Yep.
Instead, we have only 2 vacancies.
So on vacancies...
So let's call it $2,000.
It's a $2,000 expense.
Okay.
Okay, next on repairs, we don't have any.
There's no repairs.
Why, Stephen?
Well, because in the contracts, we make sure that the tenants are actually taking care of all repairs. Understand, this is their home now. The way that we set it up, the whole conversation is about them buying this property. So they're invested in it. They want to fix it up, and they do. So there's no repairs that are coming out of your or my pocket.
Okay, what about property management?
Oh, there's also little to no property management.
Because remember, they're self-managing it. You don't
Correct.
have to pay someone $100 a month to do all that. The check comes straight to you. It's self-managed. What about realtor fees?
Oh, there's no realtor fees. You've got your buyer already built in. Guys, this is amazing. No more 6%, no more losing $15,000 in expenses at the end of the sale. It's all already built in.
So what you're saying is, let's calculate now our total
Okay,
cash flow.
let's do this.
$400. Now we are going to calculate 2 months of vacancy. So I want you to go with, first of all,
22 months.
with 22.
No,
with
excuse me.
44 months.
44 months.
44 months at a $400 cash flow.
So 400 times 44 months equals 17,600.
We collected our $10,000 in down payments.
Yep. So that plus 10.
Okay. Now we do have $2,000 we do have $2,000.
Okay, so minus 2,000.
So we have our 10 and our 17. And so now what we're going to do with all these numbers is we're going to start where we did before on this side. We had $40,000 gain from in 4 years selling it for $210.
Yep.
But we're into at 170. We're going to take that 40,000 and add 10 grand.
So I've already done it now. I've got all of this.
Add the rent.
So,
subtract
yep,
that.
yep.
What's the total number?
25,600 plus now the 40,000.
For a total of what?
That's a total of 65,600.
Okay, now just pause for a second. 11,065. Stephen, what's 65,600 divided by 11,000?
Let me get that here for you.
65,600
Okay, 65,600
divided by 11,000.
divided by 11,000. That's 5.96.
In other words, that is a 5.9 times higher return. That is a 6-fold higher return. We call it a $40,000 gap. In this situation, the gap is actually 55,000, not 40 in this particular example. So I just want to ask, how many of you watching this video are thinking, wow, I don't want to hire a property manager? Me, how many of you are thinking, I want to actually push off all repairs and I don't want those expenses? Me, how many of you are thinking, I'd love to get paid up front when I step into the house? Me, how many of you want double the cash flow? Me, how many of you want to avoid realtor fees? Me, why wouldn't you ever do a lease option?
It just makes sense.
It just makes sense. Now, understand where we're about to head is we're going to assume that you have a house. And what we're going to do is we're going to talk about what you can do to make maximum money on this house. And in this next video, we're going to get into how you market it, how you show it, how you do it. And by the time we get to the 4th and final video, We'll even show you how to buy a house on lease option so you don't even have to potentially have money out of pocket. You don't have to use any credit. So if you watch this 4-part series, we're gonna show you how you can transact all of your real estate in this amazing microcosm and do what I did, age 26, retired with a net worth of $1.6 million that I kept on growing greater and greater and greater. And friends, this is the foundation I built all of my wealth on, claiming that it is the single best strategy in real estate. Can you see how this is least time, least effort, least risk, more profitable? This works in every market, buying single family below the median. Friends, this is the rock star way to go if you're just starting out and you're like, how do I play? Keep watching. Oh man, we're just warming up. Are you like so excited for the next video? And it's like, okay, Kris, now I understand why you love lease options. Now I understand why I love lease options. Now, how do I take it to the market? How do I take a house and start actually doing a lease option? Join us in the next video. I'm gonna show you exactly how to do it.